On a cold February night in 2019, a group of friends set out for a night of fun on the water in coastal South Carolina. The air was crisp, the moon was bright, and the moon was light. But what started as a casual get-together would end in tragedy, sending shockwaves through a tight-knit community and ultimately exposing a dark legacy of power, privilege, and secrets that had remained hidden for generations. This is the story of Mallory Beach, and how her tragic death became the thread that unraveled the powerful Murdaugh dynasty. The setting is Beaufort County, South Carolina, a place where a single family name carried immense weight. For over a century, the Murdaugh family had been the legal authority in the region. Generation after generation held the position of solicitor, the chief prosecutor for a 5-county district. They were more than just lawyers. They were an institution. To many, their name was synonymous with justice, but to others, it was synonymous with a different kind of power, one that seemed to operate above the law. That fateful night, 6 young people, including 19-year-old Mallory Beach, boarded a boat belonging to the Murdaugh family. At the helm was Paul Murdaugh, the youngest son of the prominent lawyer Alex Murdaugh. The group had been to an oyster roast, and according to survivors, the atmosphere on the boat began to change as the night wore on. Paul, who was underage, had allegedly been drinking heavily. His behavior became increasingly erratic and confrontational. Friends pleaded with him to let someone else drive, but he refused. Just after 2 in the morning, under the darkness of a moonless sky, the boat, traveling at high speed, slammed into the pilings of a bridge over Archer's Creek. The impact was violent, throwing the passengers into disarray. When the chaos settled and everyone took account, a horrifying realization dawned on them. 5 were injured, some seriously, but 1 person was missing. Mallory Beach was gone. The immediate aftermath was a scene of panic and confusion. Emergency responders launched a massive search and rescue operation, scouring the dark, cold waters. For 8 agonizing days, Mallory's family, friends, and the entire community held their breath, praying for a miracle. The search finally ended in the most heartbreaking way possible. Mallory's body was found by 2 fishermen about 5 miles from the crash site. The vibrant, beloved young woman was gone, and a community was left to grapple with an immense loss. As the grief set in, so did the questions. The initial investigation into the boat crash quickly became a source of controversy and frustration for the Beach family. There were whispers of special treatment and a justice system bending to the will of a powerful name. At the hospital, there were allegations that Alex Murdaugh, Paul's father, arrived and attempted to speak with the other survivors, potentially interfering with the investigation before law enforcement could get their statements. This single detail raised a critical question. Was this a fair investigation, or was the Murdaugh influence already at work, muddying the waters? Despite being identified by multiple witnesses as the driver, Paul Murdaugh was not immediately given a field sobriety test or arrested. It took nearly 2 months for charges to be filed. In April 2019, Paul was indicted on 3 felony counts of boating under the influence, including 1 causing death. He pleaded not guilty and was released on bond, free to await a trial that seemed perpetually delayed. For the Beach family and many observers, it felt like a system designed to protect the powerful was simply stalling, hoping the public's attention would fade. While the legal proceedings for the boat crash moved at a glacial pace, the Beach family filed a civil lawsuit against Alex Murdaugh and others. This lawsuit was about more than just compensation. It was about accountability. Their legal team began digging into the Murdaugh family's finances, trying to understand the full scope of their assets. This financial pressure would prove to be a critical turning point, not just in their case, but in a much larger, more sinister story that no one saw coming. Then, on June 7, 2021, the entire saga took a shocking and violent turn. News broke that Paul Murdaugh, the young man at the center of the boat crash case, and his mother, Maggie Murdaugh, had been found shot to death at their family's sprawling hunting estate. The tragedy was stunning. Suddenly, the case of a fatal boat crash was intertwined with a brutal double murder. The community was left reeling, and the questions multiplied. Who would do this? Was it retaliation for the boat crash? Or was something else entirely at play? With Paul's death, the criminal charges against him for the boat crash were dropped. It was a procedural formality, but for Mallory Beach's family, it felt like justice had once again been denied. The chance to hold him accountable in a courtroom was gone forever. Yet the civil lawsuit continued, and the financial scrutiny on Alex Murdaugh intensified. The investigation into the murders of his wife and son put Alex Murdaugh under a microscope like never before. What emerged was a picture of a man living a life built on a foundation of lies. Investigators began to uncover a massive web of financial fraud. For years, Alex had allegedly been stealing millions of dollars from his law firm, his partners, and his clients, often the most vulnerable people who had trusted him to help them after devastating accidents. He was using the money to fund a lavish lifestyle, and as it would later be revealed, a severe, long-term opioid addiction. The pressure mounted. Just 3 months after the murders of his wife and son, another bizarre incident occurred. Alex Murdaugh called 911 from a rural roadside, claiming he'd been shot in the head. But the story quickly fell apart. It was revealed to be a staged attempt on his own life, a desperate plot. He claimed to ensure his surviving son could collect a multi-million-dollar life insurance payout. He believed his life was worth more to his son in death than in life. This event was the final nail in the coffin of his public image. The powerful patriarch was exposed as a man cornered by his own deceptions. The financial crimes came to light, leading to dozens of charges. But the biggest question remained: what happened to Maggie and Paul? Prosecutors began building a case that pointed in one direction, toward Alex Murdaugh himself. They argued that the boat crash lawsuit was the catalyst. The financial discovery in that case was about to expose his years of theft. His world was collapsing. The state's theory was that Alex Murdaugh, facing imminent financial ruin and public disgrace, murdered his wife and son in a desperate, unthinkable attempt to create a distraction and gain sympathy, hoping it would derail the investigations closing in on him. In early 2023, Alex Murdaugh went on trial for the murders of Maggie and Paul. The world watched as a story of privilege and power unraveled in a South Carolina courtroom. The prosecution presented evidence placing him at the scene of the crime just minutes before the murders occurred, directly contradicting his alibi. After a grueling 6-week trial, the jury delivered its verdict. Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of murdering his wife and son. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences in prison. The story of Mallory Beach did not end with her death. It became the beginning of the end for the Murdaugh dynasty. Her life, though tragically cut short, served as the small, powerful light that finally pierced through a century of darkness. The pursuit of justice for Mallory exposed a legacy of corruption that had harmed countless people. Her family's unwavering fight for accountability forced a powerful man out of the shadows and into the harsh light of truth. This case is a sobering reminder that wealth and influence can create a dangerous illusion of being above the law. But it's also a testament to the fact that truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of coming to the surface. The fight for Mallory Beach cost her family everything, but it brought about a reckoning that was long overdue, ensuring that the name Murdaugh would no longer be associated only with power, but with a profound and tragic fall from grace.